Good morning, friends. Welcome to the Immanuel 10 at 10. I'm recording this video a day early since we will be having the family memorial service for Martha Voga on Friday at 10:30. That service will also be live streamed. This week in our one-year chronological Bible reading plan, we read from the book of Proverbs, read through the entire Song of Solomon, and are starting Ecclesiastes. All three of these books are connected in some way to Solomon, either written by him or in honor of him. For us to understand these three books, we really have to go back to the very beginning of the Bible, to the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve were living in harmony with each other and with God and with all of his creation. And they were given a choice, either to follow God's wisdom and live the way that he wanted them to, or to follow their own wisdom. And of course, they chose to go their own way, which resulted in brokenness and division between people. But there was a promise that God gave that a true human would come who would fix what was broken and destroy evil forever. Well, much later in the biblical story, King Solomon started off very well. He prayed to God for wisdom. He didn't ask for money or for fame or for the death of his enemies. Instead, he asked God for wisdom to rule his people well. And it led to prosperity. In his day, everything went well, and Israel had all the resources that they need, and they enjoyed a time of peace. And the people were described as everyone living under their own fruit tree. But then Solomon married hundreds of foreign women who led him astray into worshiping other gods. And he started Israel on the path to slowly falling apart. So all three of these books, Proverbs, Song of Solomon, and Ecclesiastes, invite us to learn from Solomon's wisdom and from his failures. Proverbs sounds like it was written by a brilliant young teacher with great advice on all sorts of things. And the primary message is that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. We live a good life when we fear God and follow his wisdom. Throughout the book of Proverbs, wisdom is personified as Lady Wisdom, who calls to the people to follow her, to listen to her teachings, to live the way that she instructs them. And so Proverbs says, when we embrace Lady Wisdom, we are standing at the tree of life. Well, the book of Ecclesiastes comes across as like a sharp, middle-aged critic responding to Proverbs. It's like he's saying, well, if things are supposed to go well when we follow what God wants us to do, then why is life such a mess? Ecclesiastes starts off by saying the words of the teacher. So the teacher is someone else than the author, who gives kind of a beginning and an ending to the book. And the words of the teacher, the teacher was supposed to be David's son, which could have been Solomon or a later king or another teacher who had kind of taken on Solomon's persona. And the whole book is a real sober reflection on the meaninglessness of life. It says everything is vanity or meaninglessness. The word there in Hebrew literally means vapor or smoke, like fog, that life is fleeting and uncontrollable, confusing, and full of disappointments. The book points out that we spend most of our time chasing things that don't satisfy. Wealth, career, relationships, social status. It points out that time will eventually erase you and me and everything that we care about. Death is the great equalizer. It's inescapable and it destroys us all. And so the teacher comes to the conclusion that trying to find meaning outside of God is pointless. Even trying to live by wisdom doesn't always seem to help. The key is accepting that everything in your life is out of your control. The gift of God is the enjoyment of simple pleasures, food, life, family, friends. When we trust God, we enjoy life as we experience it, not as we want it to be. And those are important words to hear because they're trying to move us toward greater wisdom. The teacher says, you don't bury yourself in books because you won't find meaning in more and more knowledge. Fear God and keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of humans, for God will bring everything into the light of his judgment. One day, God will bring true justice to our world. Ecclesiastes forces us to face death and seemingly random chance and the challenge that they pose to just a naive belief in God's goodness. So this book's author and the teacher believe that life is beautiful, but temporary and fleeting. Whenever we try to build meaning and purpose in life apart from God, whenever we invest in pursuits and things that have no lasting meaning, time marches on. We all die, and bad things happen to good people. In the end, the author asserts that the key to contentment comes from wisdom, accepting life's fleeting nature, fearing God, keeping his commandments, and putting our trust in him. We might still be puzzled by life's mysteries, but God will bring true justice that fuels our ability to live lives of honesty and integrity. The Song of Solomon, or the Song of Songs, as it's sometimes called, is a love poem between a beautiful woman and a shepherd. The book is actually so sensual and provocative that I've heard that young Hebrew men were not allowed to study it until they reached marrying age. But it is often sung at Passover celebrations to this day. The whole book is a series of poems sung back and forth between a woman and the man and their friends. And interestingly, there's more verses by the woman's voice. So really, the whole book is kind of a meditation of a woman's heart. Like the book of Esther, the Song of Songs never mentions God. So it's really unusual um, to have to have two books like that in the Bible. But there is lots of garden imagery throughout the Song of Songs, like the Garden of Eden, all these allusions to Adam and Eve. The love between this woman and man in the Song of Songs points to a restoration of relationships that have been bent and broken since the beginning of Genesis. Some of the lyrics have inspired modern songs. My beloved is mine, and I am his. He has taken me to his banquet hall, and his banner over me is love. You've stolen my heart with one glance of your eyes. Arise, my love and my lovely one, and come away. The winter is past, and the rain is gone. And one refrain that happens several times is, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. Throughout the book, the lady pursues the man, which is a lot like the description of Lady Wisdom in Proverbs, who calls out to the people in the streets, inviting them to come to her house and to build their lives on her wisdom. Some people have seen the Song of Songs as a metaphor that illustrates God's love for his people, Christ's love for his church, or Lady Wisdom pursuing and inviting us. Some of the verses say, Set me like a seal upon your heart. Love is as strong as death, passion fierce as the grave. Its flashes are flashes of fire, a raging flame. Many waters cannot quench love, rivers cannot wash it away. If one were to give all the wealth of his house for love, it would be utterly scorned. So the Song of Songs is a celebration of human love, but it also points us to the God who designed us in his image. He set us in creation to rule through his wisdom so that all of us can find life. I'm including a link to the Bible Project videos and study for this week's readings, both on Ecclesiastes and on the Song of Songs. I hope you enjoy watching and discussing them with your family, friends, or small group. Hope to see you in worship this weekend as we begin our summer series on the urgency of God's kingdom in the Gospel of Luke. Worship is at 9:30. See you there, in person or online. Have a great week.